It's a good day in the neighborhood. You know what? I need to get positivity around here. I need
You really do.
positivity. I need no negative thoughts. Away with negative thoughts. We start this show on May 14th, 2019 with one of the greatest days in my life. Young man from Staten Island, New York, just with a dream, My brother, Jeff Eisen, me, Rich Eisen, sitting at home in Staten Island, New York. Turn on the television. We saw a man who looked a lot like, I'll be honest, our rabbi, standing on a stage in New York City. He once was a kid with a dream, too. Maybe it was a dream to be the commissioner of the National Basketball Association. He was living out his dream. His name was David Stern. David Stern was standing there. Looked like a little bit of a setup. Again, back in my day, show called Bowling for Dollars. Bowling for Dollars, which was actually taped nearby Madison Square Garden. Where you would bowl for dollars and you would pick something called a pin pal.
Oh.
When you were bowling for dollars, you would just take this large tureen filled with these envelopes and filled with cards, and you would just roll around as they rolled around this tureen, and you would pick out a pin pal, somebody from invariably Queens or the Bronx or somewhere in New York City, and you would bowl for dollars for them as well. It just looked like the same thing, except inside we're not pen pals. It was a pal that we all wanted to have as our lifelong friends back in the day as New York Knicks fans. We wanted to be friends, BFFs, forever. And I know that's redundant with Patrick Ewing. The day, May 19th, 1985. That was the day where David Stern reached his hand into the, do we call it a tureen? I don't know. Is this large plastic circle?
Big sphere.
Yeah, big sphere.
Yeah.
A sphere of life.
Yes.
A sphere of basketball life for a franchise that had struggled since the Bradley days, the Clyde Frazier days, the Willis Reed days. Yes, the Phil Jackson days. Kids, Phil used to be good for the Knicks. The Red Holtzman days, they were long gone by May 19th, 1985. Sure, there were some bursts of activity in the Garden. Sure, there were some great moments. Bernard King, one of my favorite players of all time. You know, there were glimmers. Hubie Brown. Yes, kids, long before he was sitting next to Mark Jones telling you about the paint and all that sort of stuff on ESPN. He was head coach of the New York Knickerbockers.
Painted area,
pardon me.
Yeah.
May 19th, 1985, David Stern put his hand in that tureen sphere, pulled out envelopes. There were no ping pong balls, kids. There were envelopes, white envelopes. And he took one out and he put it underneath the number 7. Or did he put it under number 1 first? I don't remember which one. And he put another one under number 6, under number 5, under number 4, under number 3, number 2, and number 1. And yes, back in that day, just 7 teams were in the draft lottery. Tonight, I can't even count how many are in the draft lottery tonight. And the lottery had no ping pong balls. It was just David Stern grabbing his hand, jamming it in there, taking an envelope out, and putting it down underneath a number. And then one by one, opening up the envelopes. Opened the envelopes. One by one, they would be opened. And sure enough, the last envelope to be opened, the New York Knickerbockers. And the BFF of Patrick Ewing came to New York City. And it was phenomenal. Now, I don't know how cold the envelope was for all you conspiracy theorists out there. All this nonsense, calling into questions David Stern's
Might have been
reputation.
bent a little bit.
Excuse me.
Bent, cold.
If they put the Ewing envelope in the freezer, as so many conspiracy theorists said, and said that David Stern had to make sure that the coldest envelope he touched was underneath the number 1, you've never touched cold things in your life. Because cold things in your life normally make other things around it cold, with the exception of the air conditioning unit in my destination wedding hotel. Just check out last week's show, well, yesterday's show, in case you wonder what it's all about. Come on. You can't. All right. Bottom line. Whatever you want to call it. Want to call it Fix was in? I don't care. Greatest day in New York Knicks fans' life, sadly, to this day. To this day. Because as we all know, Ewing didn't win a championship. I get it. I understand. Jordan was standing there for years. I understand. Then Hakeem Olajuwon was standing there. Then John Starks was standing from the three-point line, throwing up bricks when everything else would go down. Patrick Ewing had Pat Riley standing there. Charles Oakley standing there. It was all there. Didn't work out. But tonight that can all change for New York Knicks fans out there. In the same way that Dave DeBusschere was the general manager for the Knicks that day, representing the Knicks. I remember to this day him pounding his fist on the podium. Yes, they got Patrick Ewing that day. I remember my brother and I going to our aunt and uncle's house in New Jersey with my folks that day, asking them to turn on the radio in the blue Pontiac station wagon that we had, because we wanted to bask in the traffic and weather together. It was a bright, sunny day, figuratively. I don't remember what the weather was or what the traffic was. We wanted to hear the sports. Yes, Patrick Ewing was a Knick. And tonight, it can happen again. Because guess who's sitting there representing the New York Knickerbockers tonight at the draft lottery? Patrick freaking Ewing. And it's exciting if it wasn't for the Schmendrick who owns the team. That's right, I said Schmendrick.
Did you just make that up?
I have not made that up.
All right.
Ask David Stern what a Schmendrick is. He knows what it is. It's James Dolan. He's a Schmendrick. I got your back, Knicks fans. As you know, we're the home of the Dolan wormhole. Because that Schmendrick is the worst Schmendrick of Schmendricks in Schmendrick history.
How do you spell that?
Schmendrick. That's the way I spell it.
Got it.
Nobody's ever asked me that, but I just did it. But no negative thoughts, because here today on the Rich Eisen Show for all 3 hours, lit up, right to the left of my set, is a James Dolan shrine. We have candles. We have him singing, crooning. What picture do we choose? Do we choose the picture of James Dolan looking completely lost, sitting there with his coffee cup and his schmecky scarf, sitting there while he watches Charles Oakley get his ass dragged out of Madison Square Garden? He doesn't lift a finger to stop it. Do we do that? No. The photograph we have chosen, radio audience, is him with his fedora, crooning, holding a guitar in his happy place as the lead singer of J.D. and the Straight Shot. That's what we have chosen. We have a photograph of Zion leaping and dunking. We've got some beautiful candles and some what looks nothing. They look like beads. They look like basketball beads.
Yeah, they're basketball beads. Knicks colors.
Knicks colors. And we will be adding to this shrine. If you want to call in, Knicks fans, at 844-204-RICH and pray to this shrine to reverse the karma of this man who ejects fans and Oakley from the arena, calls people drunks when they give him appropriate amounts of grief as being the worst owner in sports. This is the only thing standing in the way. Tonight, when the New York Knicks get Zion Williamson, I said it out loud, when they get it right, you thank me. I say well in advance of tonight. New York Knicks fans, you are welcome.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live or download the Rich Eisen Show app.